Good morning, everybody, and happy Sunday morning. Want to say happy birthday to all those beautiful babies born this day from 0
I
to
did it again.
197 years old. And if you're 197 going on 198, I would love to have you on the podcast because you're a miracle. All righty, let's get into the disclaimers and all this other stuff because Friday night's video was suppressed by YouTube for a copyright violation on the music. And unfortunately, I'm fighting it right now. So they demonetized it. So I can't get my quarter that I need to make the $100. um, so that being said, thank you, YouTube, for being such a pain in the ass. Anyways, all right, copyright disclaimer. This channel may use some copyrighted material without specific authorization of the owner, but contends that it falls under the Fair Use, which is the Copyright Act of 1976. Nighthawk High Strangeness podcast channel and all the podcasts on the channel with all the music declare fair use of any and all content to be used for the purposes such as criticism, commentary, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, research, parody, and general knowledge only, plus entertainment value, per Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, otherwise known as the Fair Use Act. All righty, let me get that off the screen. And we're going to talk a little bit more about how unfair this censorship is. Good morning, Eric.
Good morning, my brother. How you doing?
I'm
Honey,
doing a
come
little
on
better.
now.
Still very, very droggy. Still very, very droggy.
I get you, man. I didn't get to bed till after 3 this morning. Guys, I'm sorry. Baby Kitty is being mouthy, so you're probably hearing her on the mic. I apologize. I'm trying to get her to hush.
It's definitely loud.
Well, hey, come on now. I'm going to throw her outside. No, well, you're being rude.
Gently set her down.
Yeah, you're being rude. I know you want attention, but you're being extremely rude.
Anyways, everybody, we have got something I wanted to talk about. Everybody, is this censorship that's going on right now. It seems like the more we talk about, the more they are trying to shut us down, and for them to demonetize the only other live that I've done this week. So I can't get that extra little 25 cents that I need to get to $100. So they cut me a $100 check for advertising their crap that they want advertised. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely absurd. The censorship is out of control. They've lost their freaking mind if they even have one, because I'd almost be willing to bet that it's an AI bot that's doing it. I really do. And we all know AI is just as good as saying 666 as far as I'm concerned. AI is probably the damn Antichrist. So that being said, we're going to try it again
YouTube
today. And I have basically, I'm getting close to washing my hands of YouTube and going solely on Rumble. I really am.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Tiki Talk did it to me the other day on a commercial on a royalty-free rock and roll or royalty-free music. It kicked me back saying this is not authorized, and I sent him a nasty message back. Look, you got 2 points here I need to make. First off, one, this is royalty-free music. You can look it up and see where I got it. It's royalty-free. Right. Number two is if you're going to hit me up on this, then you got to hit up every single TikTok creator on TikTok for using sounds against the person's permission. Number 3 is you got the Fair Use Act of, Section 107, I believe it is, that plays in this as well. So I can use this wherever I want. But if you're going to hit me up, hit every single content creator on here does not use anything that's 100% theirs.
Yep. Yeah. Per Section 17, subsection 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, otherwise known as the Fair Use Act, we are allowed to use unauthorized publication for devices for our lives and our videos within reason, and those reasons are given under the Fair Use Act, which is commentary, criticism, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, research, parody, general knowledge only, and entertainment. So I mean, it pretty much covers the gambit. But for some reason, they keep on trying to silence the ones that are really speaking up about certain subjects. And it's starting to really aggravate me to the point where I'm starting to see if there's any other podcasters out there that might want to get a class action suit against YouTube started.
No, we need to do it on most social media sites because most of them are doing it. Facebook's doing it. YouTube's doing it. TikTok is doing it. I probably need to go back to Clappy Clap, the Clapper, whatever it's called, Clappy Clap. Haven't been on that for a little while. I'm debating on solely going back to that and getting the hell away from TikTok.
Yeah, I don't do TikTok. I specifically don't do it because of all the rhetoric over them being owned by China and all that, and and I'm just one that I'm a big person to support the local, like local farmers and merchants, not the big ticket stores, and I support the smaller podcasts that don't have 1 million, viewers or subscribers, and that kind of stuff. That's the way I go. And I just, as much as I want to go on TikTok and do some outrageous stuff, I'm kind of against it. Bless you. Kind of against it.
It started out with me as a bet with my oldest daughter. Now I just use it. I put my commercials or my book releases on there. It's all I use it for anymore. I mean, you'll find stuff on there that's pretty entertaining because there is some people on there that talk some truth, but they're pissing me off so bad that Clapper was started, which is a version of TikTok, and it was they was started because TikTok was monetizing so bad. So therefore, I'm probably going to start going strictly back to Clapper and being done. I mean, I've got damn near 6,000 followers on TikTok. But I'm like, you know what? This is getting way too bad. So I've been kicking around for a few days. I may be doing a video on TikTok saying, guys, look, I'm getting tired of the bull crap of TikTok. I love and appreciate every single one of you guys, but if you want to follow me, come to Clapper because Clapper is just it's better than TikTok, and not a whole lot of people use it, which is sad. And they don't monetize you like TikTok does. But I'm pretty much that's where I'm heading.
Yeah, exactly. I'm definitely heading towards Rumble full time and X, but even X has changed. When they were called Twitter, I used to be able to upload my videos for free and my lives to Twitter. And now that they're X, they want me to pay a monthly fee for it. And, money's too tight. I can't afford, the $8.99 a month that they want towards, putting the videos on there. So I'm kind of, debating maybe I should just go with the old reliable stuff, and Twitch has not, Twitch has been pretty good to me. They haven't censored me at all since the beginning. But I've heard Twitch has censored others, and they could start doing it though if they want to me. But I think it's because my views are so low on Twitch that, they're not really concerned with it. I think once the viewership goes up, they're going to start doing what YouTube is doing. See,
Yeah.
YouTube isn't happy because the more we get subscribers to the channel, the more voices we have to speak out about their censorship. And it's not just our country, and it's pretty outrageous that a country in southern Africa can claim that it's their music without any proof,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what's going on. And that's utterly ridiculous. And it's getting frustrating. It's getting really, really
Yeah.
frustrating. Um, YouTube doesn't want to pay out anymore. They don't want to pay out, whether it's $5 or $100 or $10,000. They don't want to. When they have when they see a podcast go up to over 1 million subscribers, and they send out that plaque that they send out is a bullseye. If you look at it, it's a bullseye, and they're going to gun for you
Yeah.
every second of the day that you podcast on their channel. So, it is what it is, but at the same time, it's very, very disheartening. And you know, honestly, I've probably got about 6 more months or so to go, with being able to even do a podcast. So I'm probably going to be turning the reins over to somebody else, um, that I know is willing to continue. Um,
Yeah.
but we'll see. We'll see what happens, and go from
Man,
there.
I got so busy on the comment or talking, I forgot to hit the comments up. I'm sorry, guys. I'm so brain dead this morning. My coffee's just now starting to kick in.
Oh, Ray says he got
Uh,
hit with a strike
yep,
because
I was
of
getting down to
his
that.
phone ringing. Yeah, his phone ringing. Wow. Are you
Mm,
serious? Your phone rang in the background, Ray, and they gave you a strike? Holy crap.
I got
Now
a,
see,
I got a strike
that's the
because I
kind
was listening to music.
of
Well,
yeah, that's the kind of
yeah,
BS that is ridiculous. I mean, that's stuff that's beyond control. Who can I mean, if my phone rang right now, it's sitting right here. Am I going to have a strike put against me? That's just
yeah.
ridiculous. That's beyond
That's why I got
control.
to
Plus,
remember every time I go live to turn mine
yeah, go
silent
ahead.
because of the very same
Yeah,
thing. I mean, that
yeah. I just, it's ridiculous. I thought there was a 30-second rule, anyways, for music. I thought that you could
it depends
actually
on who
use
you
music for
are.
30 seconds, and then then it would be risky to keep it playing. But I guess they changed that because they're the elitist, pompous assholes of the internet. So, anyways,
Well,
I'm starting to get
that's the
really
thing.
ticked off about it.
If you don't follow their ideology, then their rules are different for you than they are for the people who follow their ideology. So, I
Yeah,
mean, that's just
Starflower, I
sadly, but
agree.
that's just how it is.
Starflower, thank you for being here. That means a lot. That means a lot to me. I appreciate that very much.
Mhm.
Yes, everything it is. And that's kind of where I wanted to go with the subject today too. And we'll get into what Eric wants to talk about too a little bit. But I wanted to start off the whole way the world is right now. And we've talked about it. We touched on it briefly on every podcast about how things are changing. Things are happening at such an exponential. I can't even talk this morning. At an exponential rate, things are happening, and you know, especially the
Mhm.
paranormal and supernatural. Okay, um, and you could clump the cryptid encounters in with that too. Um, I have been talking to several people that have had the weirdest encounters on their own property. I mean, we're not even talking like going out in the middle of nowhere where there's no houses around for 3 miles. You know what I mean? We're talking on their own property in a country setting, you know, that is there's a population around them, but yeah, it's not a big city. You know, it's a small town, like maybe 30,000 people around them. Um, and this stuff is just happening from lights in the sky coming down onto their property and orbs going to the windows of their homes, illuminating the whole inside of the room that it's outside the window of. And in some cases, these orbs go through the walls of the house and float through the entire house to where the people are sitting and witnessing it. The people are frozen in their chairs or their couch or whatever, can't move, can't speak. Um, and then all of a sudden, the orb will just blip out, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, and you could chalk probably 2% of that up to light, ball lightning. We all know that's the big ass excuse for stuff like that. But I do believe it is more of a supernatural thing. The more I do research on it, and the more that I talk to witnesses, and I even classify some of them as victims because it's very traumatic for some of them. So I classify them as a victim too. Um, and it's not just that. They're seeing shadow people outside their windows. They're seeing shadow people within their homes. They're seeing Glimmer Man. We all know Glimmer Man. You know the illuminated, almost see-through type of entity that's been spotted around by several hunters and all that, and hikers out in the middle of nowhere. Um, there's so much going on, that it's getting really, really bizarre. And I hate to use that word bizarre because that's kind of your baby, but it really is.
All right.
It is.
It is.
It is very bizarre. And you know, it's almost like the powers that be um, are manifesting this stuff at such a fast rate to confuse people, to throw people off. It's like, look over here, make your attention go over here while we do this behind your back, type of a thing. And I think we all, good to see you, Mary and Roger, good to see you. Jeff, good to see you. Um, we are literally coaxed into looking away from where what actually is being done behind our backs. We're literally being coached and and leaned over to look at something else because it's more exciting than what's going over here behind our back. And everybody talks about Project Blue Beam, and several of the other black operation projects, budgets and stuff around that are going around. Um, there's and they're even, to this day they've still got Operation Looking Glass, which I got a feeling that that has something to do with the Glimmer Man, to tell you the truth. But I'm not going to go there right now. It's just all the oddities that are happening right now is going to culminate into something. And I'm not set that it's Operation Blue Beam, which is the fake alien invasion. It's almost like and seeing as this is Sunday, maybe I should just come out and say it. Because this is supposed to be the day of rest. And unfortunately it's not that way because they've already changed the calendars and the hours on the clock and all that. So what's happening today, sorry, I'm losing my breath. What's happening today is almost like the fallen angels are already here on Earth, and they are trying to kick up all the turmoil that they can,
Mm-hmm.
and fear that they can, to get rid of the problem people that they deem could affect the total outcome of what's going on. I think
Mm-hmm.
that the powers that be know that that time has come, but I don't think the powers that be are convinced enough that they're going to be able to succeed with mankind on the earth, if you know what I mean. So they try to
Yeah.
eliminate us certain things. Um, and we all know that they are trying to poison us with our food and our water and all that, which I blame our governments for. I completely hold the CDC, the USDA, and all those other agencies responsible for all the cancer that is in the world. So knowing that they promote that with all their dyes and stuff in the food, the blue dye, the yellow dye, the red dyes, and they're all concentrated for cancer. That just tells me that those agencies are working for the dark, plain and simple. Hands down, scrubbed it, and that's the way it is. And I'm
Yeah.
starting to really think that 100% of the time, our own government is working for the demonic, plain and simple. And demons are described in different forms. Okay. Demons are described with red eyes, looking like shadows. Okay. Demons are described like gargoyles. Demons are described like reptilian beings. Demons are described as grays. I mean, if any way, shape, and form you wanted to manipulate the fears of humanity, those would be the ways to do it. And the fear of putting food within your mouth or water down your throat because it could kill you is another way of doing it. And they're probably gonna try and shut down my mic. But that's okay with me. They can try all they want, because if they do that to me, I'll just turn this off and come right back on. That's all it is. Cynthia, good to see you. Brett, good to see you. Let's see. Roxanne, good to see you. Juno, my brother. That's originally one of the topics I was going to talk about today, was the Dulce, New Mexico area, and
Mm-hmm.
I was originally wanting to talk about that too because of the Phil Schneider thing. Poncho, good to see you. Um, but I just it just burns me up with the way that AI is just pretty much taken over, and I can't tell you the number of hundreds, if not thousands, of times I have seen these video things that are on YouTube, where they have the person basically reviewing a video from an outrageous one, to paranormal, to the weird and freaky stuff, and they're posting stuff that's made by AI, or stuff from movie clips. And there's one in particular that's going around too, that it really pisses me off, because it's a movie clip, but these guys that narrate this crap are saying that, oh, it happened in such and such state at such and such point in time, and this has gone viral, and it hasn't actually gone viral at all. They're just trying to make it go viral because it's fake anyways. um is the one where Bigfoot's wrestling the grizzly bear.
Oh
Okay.
God, yeah, that's resurfaced again. Yeah.
Yes, and they are beating the hell out of it, trying to make it come off as being real and filmed by somebody. Somebody must be friends with this Bigfoot, and da da da. It's from a damn movie that one of the kids that played on the Tim the Tool Man Taylor show was in. You know, And it's just crap like that. It's called disinformation. And that's why
Yeah.
these idiots are out there doing this. Okay, and it's really getting outrageous. Okay, I've been speaking out about it. My little brother Ryan Paul Tremblay's been speaking out about it. You know, we try to. Even several other people have spoken out about it. And we try to tell people time and time again that stuff is fake movie stuff. It's parts of a movie, or it's AI. And they just don't want to stop doing it, which tells me that they're probably within the pocket of government to try and, basically confuse everybody that's coming into the realization that this stuff is going on every day of our lives, okay, that we see. So I don't know, man. How do you feel about stuff like that, Eric? Because that kind of movie
Well,
crap is stop.
yeah, I mean, if anybody with the lick of common sense can tell that damn thing's fake as all get out. I'm sorry, man. It just you can tell by the costume of the Bigfoot. The bear ain't fake, but the costume of the Bigfoot's fake. I get it. It's a damn bear trainer. They knows that bear who put that costume on to play with the bear. I mean, it's exactly what the hell it is. But the problem is, this is what we're dealing with in this field of study, in this field of research. Is people are doing this fake ass crap for that clickbait, and it's really destroying our community.
It
And
is.
it pisses me off to no end.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's
I can't
definitely
stand it.
destroying everything that we work so hard for and that we talk about, and it makes the honest cryptozoologists and researchers and investigators out there, the boots on the ground people, it makes us, look bad. And I really do believe that is the whole premise for them doing this. I think they're in the pocket of either big corporation, whether it be BlackRock or whether it be government, um, or some three-letter agencies out there that I don't want to mention. Um,
Mhm.
I think that they're in the pocket and making money for it. And unfortunately, these are the idiots that are getting the $1 million subscribers and stuff. That and all the clicks and stuff to view their content that are growing on the internet. And
Mhm.
meanwhile there's people like us that bust our ass for the 700 or 800 subscribers that we have, because we want to be honest about it. And
Mhm.
the subscribers that we have, and the people in the chat, Poncho and Telly, and Roxanne and everybody, Demos, they are our extended family. I don't care where they're
Mhm.
from, where they live, what nationality they are, what sexual preference they have. The people in the chat are our family. Okay. And I am not going to get on here and discuss stuff and say that I am the expert and da 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 da,
Mhm.
um, and try to brainwash people. I only talk about stuff that I've experienced. Anybody that knows me knows that that's what we talk about. And it
Mhm.
just seems to me that those other content YouTubers out there that have these channels are really working hard to try and keep us muffled and down. So
Mhm. Well, and this hurts people like you and I because we're actually out there trying to get to the truth of the information and tell the history of the information, and then you
that's
get
right.
these pups saying nine stop it. Sorry, guys. Trying
Morning,
to get
Val.
information out there.
Val.
These guys are destroying the people who's actually doing it because they want that clickbait. I mean, it sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's starting to get to the point where I'm starting to dislike YouTube even more and more. And
Mhm.
If I go to Rumble, then I hope everybody would follow me on Rumble, because we'll still continue stuff like this.
Hell yeah.
But it's Nighthawk's High Strangeness on Rumble. It's Nighthawks with an S, plural, High Strangeness, because it
While
wouldn't
we're
accept
talking
my
about
other
that, I
one.
need to make sure. While we're
And
talking about that, I need to make sure I'm subscribed to that.
anyways, I'm gonna probably be doing more on that channel than I will on YouTube, unfortunately. I'll probably do my Friday night on Rumble at 11 p.m. Eastern, and then I'll just continue with the morning show on here on YouTube. Um, but it's getting ridiculous, and they didn't even notify me of demonetizing the video for Friday. YouTube never notified me. I didn't
Yeah,
get a
that's
notification. You know how I saw it? I went into the YouTube Studio app and I pulled up my channel on there, and I saw that it said, "Whoops, sorry." I saw that it demonetized because of the music,
mm,
and it's ridiculous. Hey, little twisted, good to see you on here.
holy crap.
Um,
I've got 32 cents on Rumble. Rumble earnings, 32 cents. I was getting in here to make sure I subscribed to your channel, and I looked at this. I'm like, wow, I got 32 cents sitting in Rumble. I didn't even know.
see, and it's not even about it's not about the money as far as
No,
I see it. It's really not.
no.
I mean, I've always been at a point where money's been tight, so I'm used to it.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah. It's just
but
weird.
it seems to me like they purposely are trying not to pay what the podcast, the smaller podcasts deserve to be paid. When
Yeah.
the extended family in the chat buys a super sticker or something, it seems like they delay it, the processing of it. It takes, the way they
Mhm.
probably take everybody's money right away in the chat for a super sticker, but yet they wait 4 or 5 days to process it through the channel. And I think I got it figured out. They're what they're doing is they're probably oh yeah, Ray,
You two are being a
that's really something.
yeah.
um they're probably wanting to have sit on the money for a little bit with all the small money amounts coming in from all the small podcasters, because it dawned on me, the interest rates, you know
Mm,
the money value has gone down, but the interest rate hasn't. So it tells me that they're sitting on all that money purposely to draw interest on
mhm,
it for the 5 or 6 days that it takes to say that they say to process it into a payment for the
mhm.
channel. And then they don't pay the
Yep.
channels until the end of the month. So if it's ridiculous. It's absolutely absurd the way it's set up. Um, so I think that's why I'm gonna slowly back out of YouTube. Um, you know,
Mhm.
Now there is something I wanted to talk about today. I did a report, an investigation on that was reported to me over the email, and this was this is probably about 2 months ago. Um, and I told the guy that I wouldn't give his name or anything, and that's fine. Um, but the state that it was in is very well known for cryptid activity. Um, it was in the state of Michigan. And I'm not close enough to Michigan to where I can hop in a vehicle and ride up there or drive up there or whatever and do it, hands on, feet on the ground, boots on the ground. So I did it through this individual and through talking with this individual and asking the right questions. I confirmed that it probably did happen. I'm 99% positive that it happened. Because of my own upbringing, I know that, doing the Walker ceremonies and stuff as a Native American youth, I know it works. Okay. So, and I have no doubt out there. We can even talk about it today if you want, about the vampires and the werewolves and all that, and, that kind of stuff. But
Yeah, that's
this
perfect.
this guy is an avid hunter. Okay, and he was out in the middle of nowhere in Michigan, and more towards the Canadian, towards the Canadian provinces up there, in that area of the woods, which is very, very thick, as you all know. Um, and this guy is native. Okay, he is American Indian, and anyways, sorry, I'm trying to get my butt comfortable on a wooden chair, and it's not working. Anyways, I'm going to go through what he told me, okay? I was going to save this for the show tonight, but I can always talk about it, tonight too. It was 2017 was the first time that he had an encounter. And this guy, I'm going to call him Dave, okay? And that's just a name that I picked out because I saw Dave Lester's in the chat. Good to see you, Dave.
Yeah.
So, anyways, Dave emailed me after this happened, and he is an Ojibwe native person. And him and I got to know each other through my being a regional war chief of a certain organization for Native people, back in that time frame of the 90s and early 2000s on up into like 2016, somewhere around there. So I got to know him pretty well, because I'm tribally enrolled in Canada also. So I have that card too. I can pretty much cross the border whenever I want without problems because I do have that card. But all right, the first encounter he had, he walked up upon this what he thought was a husband and wife, okay, in 2017. And he thought it very peculiar because here it is, it's like 4 a.m. and he's walking out in the middle of nowhere to go to his hunting stand. And he told me that he turned to say hello to these people, and their faces weren't all together human. They were more canine looking, almost like they were transforming into something. So he beat. He got to his deer stand. He got up into his deer stand, had his rifle with him, and he just waited to see if those people were coming around. And he said not more than 5 minutes after he got up in his deer stand, he saw the biggest wolves that he ever saw in his life. And he's avid out in the woods a lot. Okay. He didn't think anything of it at first. He thought maybe I was just tired. One cup of coffee didn't do it for me. Maybe I should have had more, that kind of kind of what I would have done. I'd go through the checklist and see what's, is it happening or is it just my imagination, and basically he told me, he said, I didn't see those people after that. All I saw was those two massive wolves, and they were running at such a fast rate that they literally looked like a black blur. And I asked him, I said, well, were they running on all fours or all twos? And he goes, well, it was mixed. He says they start out running real fast on all fours, and then all of a sudden they'll stand up and they'll be running so fast that their two legs that they're standing on are just like human legs, and they're running really fast that way. And I said, well, could you estimate how fast they were running? And he said they were running faster than any athlete I could ever imagine seeing run. And I think the quickest athlete that they've recorded is almost 30 miles an hour or something like that, for long distance running. So
I thought they got one for 40.
Oh, they did? Well,
Didn't
I'm not sure.
One? I think from Africa, a guy hit 40 or 45, didn't he? If I remember correctly.
I'm not sure. But he was blown away about how fast they were. Okay, well, he didn't think anything of it. He went about his hunting routine. He didn't get nothing that day because obviously whatever it was scared the game away, which is another thing you have to look for when you're in a certain area, whether you're camping or you're doing an investigation. Always watch the travel patterns of the game. Your game animals are going to warn you. Your game animals are going to tell you if there's danger around. Okay, whether it's a bird, whether it's deer, elk, whatever, it doesn't matter. Okay, even coyote will warn you. Okay, so that's just a little bit of advice out there to everybody. Now, he said several years later, okay, 2023, he went back out to the same spot and he heard radio music, like a stereo being played. And he saw a bunch of like flickering lights, like somebody had a big bonfire going. And he decided, he decided to basically stay back in the shadows and just kind of watch these people. He said there was probably 7 or 8 people partying, drinking beer and all that. And he started to notice these people changing, literally transforming into upright wolves. Okay, basically werewolves. All right. And he couldn't believe his eyes. He was sitting there. He was just spellbound to watch this. And this went on for probably a half an hour, him watching them. And they all started to howl. And this howl, he said, vibrated your insides, vibrated your organs internally. Okay. So basically, he said, then he heard this howl coming from behind him. And he's like, what in the hell is going on? So he sees these 7 or 8 werewolves tearing it up around the fire, stepping over the fire, jumping through the flames, and all this, kind of like some kind of a satanic type of a ritual thing. And all of a sudden he hears these branches breaking and twigs snapping, like the sound of something very, very big coming behind him. So he hunkers down into the high grass, okay? And he said something shot past him about 3 times, okay? Real fast, so fast it was just like a blur. And he was thanking his lucky stars that he didn't get stepped on. Then it happened to the other side. Well, all of a sudden, he saw these dogmen standing in a group. There was about 6 of them. And he said there were 7 or 8 of the werewolves. And he said there were 6 of these dogmen that were fully, you could tell they were fully dogmen because they had the dog legs. They didn't have the human legs. Now, he said, I watched this for the better part of an hour until I couldn't stomach it anymore. And he said that the dogmen and the werewolves started fighting. And he said he saw one dogman reach up and grab this werewolf by the throat and pick him up off the ground in one hand, one arm, and in the other one, he basically swiped at it and knocked its bottom jaw completely off and killed it.
Mm.
Okay. And he said that this happened so quickly, it was like a gang fight. It literally looked like a gang fight. And he said the only thing he could stomach was to stay there long enough to see that the dogmen won the fight. Even though they were outnumbered, 8-6, he said the dogmen were bigger and stronger and literally just basically tore up these werewolves. Okay. Now, he further went on to say, he said, Nighthawk, I don't want you to disclose my name, my reservation, or anything. He says, but I want you to know that this actually happened. He goes, I'm not crazy, am I? And I told him, I said, no, you're not crazy. I said, because let me tell you something. These legends have been around a long time with our people. And even my own upbringing, I dabbled into the dark arts of doing the walker transformation, where I gave flesh offerings. And I told him, I said, no, you're not crazy. You're absolutely sane. This did happen. And that was roughly not even a year ago that happened in 2023. Because we're not even coming up on the actual deer season that he was going out towards. I think that starts at the end of October. So, but he was animate. He said, I don't go back to those woods ever again. He says, I can't get myself to get my feet to take me to that location. He says, something stops me from going there. And I said, well, that's your Native American instinct that's talking to you. That's your spirits, the spirits telling you to stay away because that's a dangerous area, And then I asked him, I said, is there any way that that you could have been on like a sacred site, an indigenous sacred site? And he said, no. He said, I don't recall anything happening there. He said the only thing that actually happened there was a group of French people that used to encamp there over the years that did the French reenactment, the trading reenactment and stuff. I said, well, that could possibly lead into the whole werewolf thing, because that originally happened in France. Okay. And we all know that the French were down in New Orleans area, and that's why we got the rougarou down there, which is a form of a werewolf. And so it's just it's really, really, I don't know, man. It's just, he was really freaked out, and to this day he hasn't gone back to that site. And I told him, I said, if I ever got a chance to get up there, and to hunt with him, I would love to, and I would love to go to that site. But he said he's not going. He says even if I was with him, he wouldn't go. So, but that's the story. Now, you can believe it or not. I believe him. I heard his voice. Yeah. I heard his voice crack out of fear. And this guy is like me. He doesn't fear anything. Okay. He's the kind of guy that would basically drink a gallon of gasoline just to piss on your campfire. I mean, he's that kind of a guy. He was in the military. He knows his shit. Okay. And
yeah.
And it's just amazing how he won't go back to that area. And not even if I go with him, So take it for what it's worth, but I don't think that's the only encounter out there. I think there are others out there that have seen this happen that are afraid to record it or to speak out because they're afraid of looking like they're crazy, you know?
Yeah. Well, so I mean, there's something that people when they're researching Dogman and researching Bigfoot, they forget like 3 or 4 major important differences and things dealing with wolf or Dogman, werewolf, and wolfman. Number one, probably one of the most important things: Dogmen are born. Werewolves are created, and I believe Wolfman is too, because I believe Wolfman is very similar to. Ain't Wolfman like the one that was created by the 2 brothers that
Yes.
gave some of the
Romulus
food?
and Remus.
Yes. So, for those of you who have watched the show before, I've told the story a couple times. There's a Native American tribe in the north western part of the United States. There was 2 brothers that were very successful hunters, and they went out and had gotten plenty of food. Well, they came across an old a grandfather in the woods traveling, a medicine man, and he asked the 2 young warriors, may I have some of your food? I see that you are successful hunters. And they both said, yes, grandfather, we have plenty. Here, have some of this. So he's very well he was taken back by their generosity and was so blessed by it that he goes, I'm going to bestow upon you a gift, and I am going to bestow you the gift of the wolf. So these 2 brothers was given the gift of the wolf. Now they were able to transform into an actual wolf to make them more successful hunters. And then throughout some time, one brother used it for good, and he was able to continually transform between human and an actual wolf. Where the other brother started misusing his powers, and his misuse of it started overtaking him, and he was never able to transform back. He became a upright 2-legged wolfman. Uh, werewolf is created by dark magic. So people forget this. They're like, we don't see how it's physically possible for them to be able to transform. That would put a lot of stress on the body. You can't look at science when you're dealing with werewolves. This is one thing that science cannot prove because it's dark magic. Dark magic does very, very, I mean, I've personally seen, I've never partaked. I've always admitted that. I've never been one that's in the dark arts. I've seen it through my families. My mom's father made a deal with Lucifer, at their house, and my mom witnessed this. I mean, I've seen this in my family. I've never partaked in it though. But dark magic can do things that mainstream science has no clue about. So the actual transforming between a human and a wolf, both on the good side, even though it was used for bad, and the dark side of it, is very, very possible because it's magic. It's not science. So people forget about this type of stuff that's going on. Dogman is one of the elder big brothers. They're one of the first beings. They have been here longer than mankind has been. That's why there's Dogman are born and they have a tail, where werewolf and wolfman do not have a tail because they're created by magic.
What my elders told me growing up, and I'm 60 years old, and so I mean I grew up in an era when this stuff wasn't really readily talked about around, except around the campfires or the kitchen tables with elders. And what my elders told me, including my father and my uncles, were that this Dogman tribe or nation, my uncle Art, called it the Dogman Oyate, the nation. And he spoke French and Lakota, and so you had to basically have my dad there to basically translate for me when I was a child. And my uncle talked about how this nation of standing upright dog people came from the Yukon area of Canada. and
Mm-hmm.
how they lived around the Nihani Valley area too. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but they were such a ferocious nation of dog-headed people, that they were they were pack hunters. They would hunt the big game like the elk and the moose up there, and even grizzly bear, like it was nothing. He said that they were very, very fast, very, very agile. They could literally leap over a 10-foot, tall span from the ground up with just standing still. Um, which is a vertical leap of 10 feet. That just tells you right there that is freaking superhuman, as far as I'm concerned. Um, but he went on to say that they didn't really bother anybody until others started coming to their area. And then they considered
Mm-hmm.
it more of a territorial dispute. And that's when they would get ferocious. Okay. That's when they would get
Mm-hmm.
so mean that they would actually consume people, that would trespass. And that's why a lot of the people were missing back in the 1920s and throughout the 30s and 40s in that area, you know. But he said that the native people up there eventually got to know them enough to where they were allowed to come into their area as long as they traded something with them. So I'm thinking, while my uncles and stuff and my dad are talking, that well, this means that they're logical. They're logical thinking, so they have a brain similar to a human. If they're accepting gifts of trade to
Mm-hmm.
come on and hunt on their land, that tells me that they're rational, you know. Um, but he also told me back in 1968 or 67, my uncle told me that he was hunting up in that same area, general area in Michigan, and he actually saw pretty much the same thing. Okay, at the time that this
Mm-hmm.
guy saw, that Dave saw. Okay, he saw a fight between dogmen and a human-legged werewolf is all he could describe it. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and how the dogmen won, because they basically broke the neck of the werewolf. And how much
Mm-hmm.
bigger the dogman was. Um, so, I'm thinking to myself the whole time this Dave is talking to me about his second encounter and how brutal it was and how he didn't want to go back to that area. I'm thinking, well, come to think of it, my uncle Art never went back to that area either. So, maybe this thing happens in that area because it's a French trading area from back in the old days, and maybe some of the French people in that area that live in that area have that um, basically canine blood in them to where they can transform into a werewolf. Now that's
Yeah.
just a theory. That's just a theory. Okay, so I'm not saying that's exactly what it is, but how else would you describe something like that? So I put it out to everybody in the chat. What do you think? You know, is the werewolf thing probable? Because this guy, this Dave that I know, and it's not Dave Lester in the chat. I've just picked that name out of the blue. So, but this Dave that I knew from the enrollment of the tribal enrollment and all that, um, I've never known this guy to be afraid to not go somewhere. I mean, this guy was the type of a
Mm-hmm.
guy that would walk in gang territory without a weapon on him, you know, and know that it's highly active with armed gang members that rob people and stuff. And he wouldn't care if it was a big city, you know. he was a badass, he was every bit of a badass, and when I was younger, he was a couple years older than me, but he wasn't that older than me. So
I pose this question, and this is what I love when you and me work together because we love connecting dots. And I'm listening to this story, and I'm wondering if that tribe is not attached to the story that I just told because it's in the same general area. The one brother left whenever he wouldn't change back. So could he have actually started at a whole new tribe of his own?
he
And
could have
that
and
is the
moved down into
remnants of
North,
that tribe.
moved down in, yeah, he could have very well moved into that area of the country. You know, I mean, that
Hmm.
area of the country, the woods are so thick and the mosquitoes are so bad because of all the lakes and stuff around there and the swamps that, nobody can really stand even being in that area if they're human for very long, unless they know the secret to keep the mosquitoes away, because they will eat you alive,
Hmm.
literally. It's
Garlic.
not as bad as Alaska, but it's pretty damn close. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so, but
And you got to also think they're going to move with the food source. So I mean, they're constantly could be moving. Our ancestors moved. Even my Norse ancestors, not just counting the three Native American tribes that run through my veins, my North
right.
ancestors moved with the food too. I mean, that's why they
Well,
raided so many countries. They needed food.
that's
They,
the
they
other
could be.
thing too. That's the other thing too. That's kind of weird about this whole scenario of happening is you got the French blood that was in that area, but also
Mhm.
the Norse people were in that area. And what's to say that a berserker or somebody wasn't in that area and passed on that
I mean,
that knowledge? So
you think about it. So the Ulfanar are the werewolf version of the Berserkers. Berserker is actually Berserker. They take the form and the attitude of a bear. Their pure rage and their instincts just they have no thought. Right? They just kill. That is the only one to do is unalive people. Where an Ulfanar takes the form of a wolf and takes the wolf's traits and the wolf's abilities, and they can think and they can calculate. So I mean, they're a little bit more controlling of their mind. So if you got an Ulfanar that took root up there, and then you had this dude from down here in this tribe come up here, you can, I mean, to create an Ulfanar, to create a Berserker, to create a Boarhead, to create a Raven clan, there's magic involved in it. When I hit that rage, I never drank or anything like that. Mine was always set out of pure hate, rage, and anger. Now, there's plenty of stories where they took certain mushrooms and herbs and made a soup and they chanted and they sang and they danced and they took the spirit of that animal within them. So yes, I mean what you're talking about there, brother, absolutely is a very good possibility because we know the Viking had settled in most of North America. There is so many Native
right.
American tribes talking about long-haired faced tribes of people that fit the Viking description. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, it really threw me for a loop because I've never known this guy to actually be afraid of anything. And I've known him for
Hmm.
probably about 20 years altogether. So, and he's always been pretty honest with me. Um, the whole thing of it is, he was, how I want to say, he was one of the guys that was part of the Native American group that myself and Tracy were involved with for a while, and I met him through that. And he was originally from Canada, the Sault Ste. Marie area,
Hmm.
and of Canada. And you know, I've like I said, I've never known this guy to react that harsh to that situation. But when I met him in the younger days, back in the early 2000s, he was interested in doing the sun dance and all that, and was talking to
Hmm.
me, and we were talking with another Native American brother about getting him involved in that, and through the Canadian side of it. And he did. He started doing the Sundance, which is good, getting him back to his way of his people. And basically, he became stronger from it. Okay. And then he started learning some of the legends and stuff, that his people used to tell him. So he was kind of already aware that there was that possibility through legends of seeing something like that in the middle of nowhere. But he didn't really consider it to be something that he would actually come across, you know.
Mm-hmm.
One time, more or less two. I mean, who would expect it to be two times,
Mm-hmm.
So he was visibly just shocked, because like I said, when he was telling this tale to me, his encounter to me, his voice was cracking out of fear. Okay, the way he described it, he described these dogmen as being 8 to 9 feet tall, and having this mane of hair on the back going down the spine to its tail in a higher, fluffier, like almost standing up on end type of a hair. Which I told him, I said, there is some dog species out there that when they get aggressive and angry, that centerpiece of the hair going down their spine to their tail will stand up on end. The Rhodesian Ridgeback dog is one of those dogs that do that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, which is a form of a pit bull. Um,
Yep.
I've had those dogs. I've seen those dogs get vicious, protecting me.
Oh yeah.
But it's still. I still find it hard to believe that he doesn't want to go back to that area. So
Well, I
I don't
mean, he
know.
said something that scared the holy living crap out of him. I can't fault him for that one daggone bit. Uh, honestly, that's hey, thanks, Brett. You're awesome. Let me
Thank you,
put
Brett.
that up there. We
Thank
got
you very much, brother. I appreciate that. Thank you. Um,
Hey, good night,
just
Brett. You have a good one. Thanks for coming in.
yeah. Good night. The whole premise of him hunting was to provide for his family. Now he goes to a different a place a little bit southern from that area, several miles to say the least. Um, Basically to do his hunting, and fortunately, he said the game there is very prominent. It's very active with game animals, so he can get the
Yeah.
deer and even possibly occasionally the elk or a moose maybe, because it's in that part of an area. He says there's good fishing there. He says it's very active with game animals, so he kind of figured as long as that game animals around, maybe he's safer, because the game animal's not going to be scared off, so it's going to be abundant. So that's why he doesn't go back to that area too. But yeah, that's why I said you got to listen to the game animals that are around you when you're out in the
Yeah.
woods. Okay, because the birds are going to
Well,
warn you, the squirrels are going to warn you, the deer are going to warn you, the game animals, the prey animals that are in that area of the woods that you're in, no matter what location you're at, will warn you of what potential dangers there might be. So and Juno, my brother, from being out there, when you see a a predator bird in the sky looking around for, that's how you can sense your game in the area, because the predator birds are going to fly around an area where there's more game, because they know that there's something down there that they can eventually get, you know to provide subsistence for the birds, for the bird of prey. So I mean, it's not that far-fetched to, I mean, we even used to, you know discover that certain game trails um, are big areas for these cryptids to actually hunker down and wait for game to walk through and ambush predator them.
Yeah.
You know, that's even been logically documented from Bigfoot activity. You know, is they hunker down on these game trails and patiently wait for the game animals to come through because they traverse that trail quite often, and they get their game, they get their meal for the week. You know what I mean? Um,
But
that's why a lot of these sightings are along power lines and railroad tracks, because game
mhm,
animal, they're going to take the easiest way through an area. So that's why you
yeah.
see a lot of these sightings of Bigfoot and Dogman along railroad tracks and power lines, you know?
Mhm.
So,
Well, and, if you guys seen, hey, Candy, if you guys
hello, Candy.
watched watch that docu series I was in, Byways of Bigfoot, on Linda Eastburn's channel, which I do have that in my playlist now. I believe it's under investigations. I have to get in there and look. Uh, we talked about that very same concept, because I literally, not even 20 yards behind my house, had a blind set up. I mean, this thing was tall as hell, and it was right along a deer path. So, I mean, I agree that's what's happening. And you got to think too, if somebody witnesses something that they knew about but never truly believed, and they seen the awesome power that comes from seeing this firsthand, it's not out of the realm of possibility of scared the shit out of anybody not wanting to go back out there. I mean, I can't falter
Exactly.
nobody for that, because I would love to say that I would never be that way, but let's face facts, folks. I've never been in a situation like that to that degree that would cause me not to go back. So, I mean, I would love to say that that would not be me, but it very well possibly could be me. I mean, I've been through some shit. I mean, I've seen some shit, and I've been hunted by a lot of things, and I still go back into it. But if I see something of that pure, awesome rage, power, strength, and veracity, I may even be type to one go, exit stage left, and never come
Right.
back. I mean, it's daggone possible.
Right. And for him to just act like he doesn't want to go back to that area tells me that it's a true story, because
Yeah.
from the tone in his voice to the crackling of the nervousness in his voice telling the story to me, and
Hmm.
telling me that the encounter scared him so much that he doesn't go back to that area, when the man literally lives in the woods. I mean, his
Yeah.
his home is literally in the middle of freaking nowhere. Okay. Like the
Hmm.
closest other house around him is like 5 miles away in the middle of nowhere. So he's not the type of guy that's going to be scared to be out on his own, especially when he's
Oh
armed to
yeah.
the teeth and has a military background. So,
Hmm.
but I've also heard too, and tell me if you've heard this too, in the chat, that there is a black ops group that has been trained and giving a certain name called phantoms to the group that are said to be hunting and after these cryptids. I've heard stories about this group of trained, special forces, I guess you could call
Hmm.
them, with special weapons and stuff to eliminate these cryptids, no matter what the cryptid is. And I've heard that the group is called Phantoms, because they're supposed to be like the Navy SEALs. We go in, we don't get seen, when we leave. Um, but I just don't know if that's actually a legitimate type of a
Hmm.
tale, of these individuals being around. Um, because honestly, they would recruit people like Eric and myself and several others that we
Hmm.
know that have been in the military, um, that are in the chat, to be a part of these groups, um, especially, if your training and your interaction with the training to your enemy was along the same lines of what they do, which is track and hunt. That's all they do is track and hunt.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I put it out there. I'm not sure if this group is actually legitimate or not. So I just don't know if anybody else has heard anything about this type of a group.
I've heard it, and I can't rule out the possibility of it. Back when I had top secret clearance, I never did run across anything about it. I mean, I've seen a few ghost prints of it when I had top secret clearance, but nothing that I can confirm and say, yes, this is actually what it is. It was just
Right.
ghost footprints.
Right.
But I'm also not ignorant to the ways of the government and the military to come out and say that, no, there ain't no way in hell this is true. This is all fake. There is actually a very good possibility that it is. I just don't know.
Kyle said Jessica was saying something about this group too, like that.
Yeah.
I just,
me and her's talking about it.
Yeah, it's something that I'm kind of curious, because if there is a group of individuals out there that is like that, what, I wonder who finances them, and
Mm.
if it's something that is so secretive that maybe the likes of a George Soros or a Flint from BlackRock,
Mm-hmm.
might be the ones financing groups like this with the blessings of the government. You never know. Roxanne, you believe it? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious to see what everybody
you know,
thinks.
And the thing is, man, you and me, how do I put this where don't get us in trouble? We've had access to information that the normal person doesn't have access to. And even I guarantee you, if this has happened to me, it's probably happened to you. I can't remember if it has or not. We've ran across a certain file that brought the attention of our certain command group that would told us it was well out of our pay grade, which is a nice, polite way of saying this is not for you, even though you're, even though even if we have top secret clearance, there's stuff in top secret clearance that we're not even allowed to access unless you're a part of a certain little clique. You're not allowed to access it. Mine happened to come across when I was looking up Project Looking Glass, and that's when I found out I don't have that type of pay grade to look up that project, and I had a lot of stuff that became restricted on me after that ordeal. So this is why I say I've seen ghost prints of it, because when I was trying to look at this stuff, because I mean, let's face folks, I'm not going to sugarcoat shit. If I got access to something and I love information, I love history. What's this fluffy ass going? Well, of course, I wasn't fluffy back then. I was a gig smiggity looking guy back then. I'm gonna look her up, baby. So I may or may not have gotten a wee bit, a little trouble over doing some of this research that I should not have been researching. But it happens. I mean, it definitely happens. So the possibility of him having it, I can't deny it. I mean, there's too much evidence. Even the government knows about these things, and there's too much evidence of the government weaponizing these things. Right. There would almost have to be a special military group used to hunt these things down.
Right. Yeah. And I tend to agree with that too, because even the people that I know, that, when we would get together or go out, we would make sure that it was and Jessica knows this because I've told her too, that you make sure you have enough military trained guys with your group that can watch your six and basically keep everybody in the group that's out investigating safe. So basically, you want to recruit people like this group that we're talking about into your investigative groups, because you need that kind of special skill nowadays. Even when you're out there, even for feral people, you need those kind of groups out there with you, to make sure everything's on the up and up. So, to continue Sins of the Hobbit. Good to see you. Damara. That went by so fast I couldn't see it. Good to see
Demira.
you.
Yes,
Thank
she
you.
says
Thank
hello,
you
and
for
I've
being
been
here.
lurking and eating lunch.
No, good to see you. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, the Hobbit says, "Did you just say Geek Smiggity?" You're damn right I did, because my road name is Giggity, so I mean I'm always going around Giggity, Giggity, Giggity. All right.
Oh God. All right. Anyways,
Yep, sugar
yeah,
cookie.
so it pays to have people like that with that kind of specialty training, you know.
It does.
So
Uh, yes, Twisted. You're right. It's all compartmentalized. There's actual groups that's on the books, and there's groups off the books. Now, whenever I was Yankee Whites and had top secret clearance, I had top secret clearance higher than the president of the United States. President was part time. We were full time. So we knew stuff that he didn't know. Um, but yes, there is organizations that even the president don't even know about. Trying to get caught up on the chats, guys.
I'm trying to breathe.
No, dang, bro.
Oh
So
God.
yes, so I mean, that's why I can't dispute that one daggone bit, is because you know it's definitely in that realm, because we know there's UFO organizations we don't know about. There's alien organizations we don't know about. There's marine elements that we don't even know about. And when I say marine, I'm not talking about like me, a marine. I'm talking about water. Hence the name marine, anyways. But I mean, there's organizations, one of them we kind of know about, and there's an organizations even above them that studies the oceans and the strange things that's in it. So the fact that we have organizations for that type of stuff, putting that into cryptid and the supernatural side of it, the Vatican has that stuff. So if the Vatican's got it, it is not out of the realm of possibility the U.S. government had it in it.
Oh God, I hate getting old. I'm turning into my dad. I'm picking up things off the carpet.
I would like to say that as well, Kyle, but honestly, they have exoskeleton suits now that you can put on, and the Marine Corps was working on this stuff. So the interesting story, my sci-fi book, in Harjar book one, The Emergence, the exoskeleton that I created in that book, the spacesuit I created in that book, was actually framed from a Marine Corps exoskeleton that was being created. The sad thing was I didn't have that book out before Halo came out. So if you guys know the video game Halo, that suit is damn near a spot on identical to the exoskeleton suit the Marine Corps was working on before I got out. And I wrote about that 2-3 years before Halo came out. So I was so pissed because I was like, dude, there went my royalties. But I mean, it is what it is. So that's why I had to change it up in my book, because Halo already came out, even though I wrote about it years before. Sadly, my second ex-wife got rid of a lot of my stuff. My writings all my books were in with that. So I didn't have that to come back and go, hey, actually, I wrote about this way before you did. But it's all based off that Marine Corps exoskeleton suit that allows you to carry up to 300 pounds and not feel it. You can run up to 50 miles an hour in that suit, and it has no wear and tear on you. You can literally kick through a brick wall, and it has no effect on you.
I want to ask Candy something. I put Candy's post up there for, because of her comment there. There have been cattle reports, mutilated cattle up that way, in Michigan. I'm interested. I'm interested in hearing about that. Just if you can email me, information about that. I'm really interested in that. I'll put my email in the chat if anybody has any other information that they want to. And I won't use anybody's name unless they want me to. Okay, that's the same with Eric. Eric and I both agree with that.
100.
The sanctity of somebody's privacy will not be dismissed on this group. Okay, So don't think that that we will, because I will ask everybody that you have to literally give me your permission in writing to use your name. Okay. So if you would please,
I wanted
email
to
me
put that up
whatever
there just for a
encounters you
second.
have. So what's
I
this?
want to
Is
put
there?
that up there on the bottom of the screen just for a second, brother. That way, people who watch us later on want to get a hold of you, they can. That's why
Yeah.
I popped that up there real quick. To answer Ida's question, no. The Vatican is a secret government all on its own. We have no legal rights, standings, or anything to anything that the Vatican has. Pretty much the only way to get information from the Vatican is to take over the Vatican.
Yeah, the Vatican is their own country. That, I mean, they're literally their own country. They're not part of Italy. They are literally their own country inside Italy. So, and I think that they're the smallest country in the world, actually. The only one that comes close to it would be like Washington, D.C. How Washington, D.C. is not considered a state. It's more of a governmental providence. Yes. So
yeah, it's Washington D.C. is not a part of the United States. It's its own little providence. That's why they supposedly created that way, so no state can have the power above all. Horse crap. I mean, all that's horse crap. But when in the beginning of the formation of the United States, there was two locations that the Washington D.C. was supposed to be a part of. One of them was in Texas. The other one was in Florida. Certain powers to be in their educated line of thinking, that's a polite way of me saying they're full of shit, decided to make this own little country called Washington, D.C. that is supposed to run the country of the United States, the Republic of the United States. What it turned out to be is the Corporation of the United States.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with Robin's statement here 100%. I agree with that 100%.
Exactly. I mean, that's why I had that up for a little bit, because you're absolutely right on that. I mean, I've said it multiple times. This little pocket computer right here is 50, 60 years old. We had stuff that was far more advanced like this in the military before this even came out.
Yep. Wow, it's already been over an hour and a half.
Wow, I don't even feel like it.
Anyways, I better save some of this. I'm going to save some of the stuff for tonight's show. But yeah, it's really something to hear a very good friend of mine that I've known for 20 years that to have that kind of a feeling about not wanting to go back out and hunt in an area anymore because of what he encountered. And you hear that a lot too with a lot of the people that go out into the woods and hunt, that there's more of an aggressive nature. And, I keep on thinking back to my childhood when I was 12 years old riding motorcycle dirt bikes. I had a 125cc Suzuki, and we're riding dirt bikes and stuff in what we call the gravel pits. And the gravel pits, the path that we were riding on, went through the woods and kind of circled through the woods along a small stream and back into the dirt pits again. And so you'd be gone for like, I don't know, a couple minutes in the woods riding the trail and then coming back out. Well, when I was riding it on like my fourth time going around, something, it came from the right side, was a branch that was thrown out, okay, and it hit the spokes of my dirt bike on the front wheel. And I was going probably at that area, probably 25, 30 miles an hour, on the dirt bike. And it actually flipped me off of the bike, and the bike landed on me and burnt my calf muscle, the exhaust on it. And as I was trying to get the bike off of me, I looked up and I saw this Bigfoot standing there. And I know David and Melissa have already heard this, and probably several others in the chat. But, I saw this thing standing there, and it was just grinning at me, just not an evil grin, just a grin to like say, ha ha, I got you, that kind of a thing.
Chad, you're it.
And this David in the chat, Dave and Melissa made this for me, and this is exactly what I saw to a T, staring at me and smiling. And it turned and walked away. And when it turned and walked away, it was that kind of a gait that it took away from me. Okay.
Wow.
And you know, that's like the best thing I've got, to out of telling this and this encounter. And thank you, David, for doing those. That's great for you doing that. I appreciate that. He can tell you
That's
too that it
awesome
gave
work.
me chills. That it gave me chills literally when he gave it to me at a Bigfoot conference one time, and it literally gave me chills seeing that. But you don't really think about it at the time, and the only reason that Bigfoot interacted with me that way was because dirt bikes are loud, they crack, they pop, that kind of a sound, because they're two-cycle motors. And here, they were hunting. There was a younger one there, a little bit smaller than that big alpha, and then there was a deer that was like literally frozen. I don't know if it was affected by infrasound or something, but it literally would not move. Okay. So I literally pulled the small branch out of the spokes of the wheels. The wheel wasn't damaged anyway. The spoke was bent a little bit, but I got that son of a bitch up and I jumped back on it and started it up and got the hell out of there, because the only thing I could picture was me watching that big alpha run over to that deer and twist its head off. To this day, that is still the most affected encounter I've ever really had. When you're 12, 13 years old, you don't expect to have something like that happen. And you don't report it to your dad, let me tell you, because if they would have known that I had that encounter, that dirt bike would have been confiscated and my ass would have been, under lock and key for about a month. So I never really told him about that encounter. But yeah, that encounter was just seeing something. The first time I saw it, I think it was more of a young adult, because the first one I saw a week earlier wasn't as built as this one was. That's how I know he was the alpha. He was huge. I mean, he was a shit brick house with double the bricks. So that kind of a thing. The first one I saw was smaller. It was about 8 feet tall, but it was leaner, but it was still muscle, but it was leaner, and it was playing with one up in a tree. And this is what gets me about that whole first encounter. I really, really believe that these cryptids, or might as well call them beings, okay, because that's what they are. I think they have the ability. We all know that they probably have the infrasound to where they can incapacitate their prey, okay, to make their prey either get sick and tired and just freeze still, so they can make it easier to get them. But at the same time, from my first, visual encounter of this one, and I don't know if this one was a female or not. I couldn't really tell. But it had a little one that it was playing with in the tree. It was on the ground standing up, and the little one was about 9 feet up in a tree, and this thing was reaching up for it, playing with it on the branch, as it turned and I took and glanced up at it, it literally, I don't know if it did it to my head, okay, to where my vision was affected, but it literally transformed my vision from seeing it and the little one that was on its shoulder, coming down off the tree, to where it was holding it on the shoulder. It transformed that vision that I saw into an old man walking a dog on a leash. Now, you can take that for what it's worth, but when I saw that, that kind of told me that the stories that my dad was telling me and my uncles were telling me about Bigfoot were real, were the real deal, about them being able to be so attached to Mother Earth that they drew upon that mystical power that Mother Earth would grant you, and had that ability to basically mind speak and make you think you see something other than what you're seeing. You know, I can't tell you the hundreds of times I've been told at Bigfoot, you know, events and stuff, you know, where I'm at, that the hundreds of times I've heard people come up to me and say, you know, you're not going to believe this, but, you know, it's like it changed from Bigfoot in front of me to a fox walking towards me, you know. So it's like, or they say, oh, it was a coyote or a bear, a black bear, you know, or a stump. A stump is one that you hear a lot. Okay, it'll change itself into a stump. You know, I really do believe that some of them have this ability that they can basically, you know, make your mind interpret seeing something different. I know that's crazy. I know that's woo factor. Okay. And I know a lot of investigators, including the ones I'll be going on today with later on, don't agree with that. But that's what makes us all want to work together to figure out why this is happening. Is it because our own body at the time couldn't comprehend what we were looking at, and it just popped up something that, you know, wouldn't you know, make it psychosomatic, you know, make us freak out, you know, especially children like I was 12 years old. Um, is it our own internal device that turns that switch off to what we're seeing that could make us afraid and make us see something that we're not seeing, you know, like something that we would like to see, you know, or wouldn't presume as a threat, which, you know, an old man walking a dog wouldn't be perceived as a threat if you think about it. Fox wouldn't be perceived as a threat. A stump wouldn't be perceived as a threat. You know what I mean? So, you know, and that's the first and time I've ever had something like that happen. And it didn't happen the second time a week later with the dirt bike. It didn't change into anything. So I don't know. You know, I mean,
Well,
I
I mean,
can't explain.
they can tap into the old magic of the woods and of the mountains. So that being a possibility, I can never deny that they had the ability to do that. You know, Native American ancestors, when the really powerful medicine men were known to be able to change things. If they can do it, there's no way in hell that Shiai Tonka couldn't do it as well.
Well, you know, when I was growing up, there was a group of women that were working with my mother in the black arts, and it always freaked me out because my mother would drag me to this old rundown type of a house. I call it the Scooby Doo house, and you know, you basically, it's the kind of house where, and the freaky thing about this house was that there was a place that would sell the lawn ornaments of like angels and gargoyles and demons and, you know, animals and bears, you know, all that weird creepy, you know, concrete made stuff that people would put in their yard back in the day. It was all that stuff. So that's why I called it the Scooby Doo house. You know, it was just
Yep.
creepy. The whole thing was fenced in with a 10-foot fence, chain link fence. So it's like you couldn't go in the house unless you got access to the fence, and the fence was locked. But there was an elderly witch that lived there, and her and my mom were the best of friends. and this witch that lived there too was also Native American. And I used to get drugged there a lot when I was a kid, and I used to sit there and be told, now you just sit still and and just watch and learn. And they would do their black magic stuff, and I'd be sitting there watching and learning. And at the very end of the day, they would always have like a cup of tea, and they would take and read each other's tea leaves, the grinds, the stuff that were in the bottom of the teacup. And I even got taught how to do that. But every now and then there would be these three sisters that were there, and they were all part. I believe that these three sisters wanted to start their own covenant. Um, and
like
basically, um, I called them the three sisters. I didn't know their names. I'm not even sure if they were even sisters, but I personally, as a child, called them the three sisters because that's the best way I could describe them at the time. Now, these three sisters
Hey,
um,
brother,
were vicious.
I've got to go. I've got somebody just pulled up in my drive.
All right.
I don't know who the hell it is. I
All
love you
right.
guys.
All right. Anyways, these three sisters used to be able to transform themselves in the walker ceremonies. Okay. And basically, I grew to kind of fear them. I didn't really want to get to know them, as a child. So, but and it was reported to me that the last time they were seen, um, and this was years ago, was like around the Midwest area of the country of the United States. So I'm not even sure if they're still around, if they're still alive or not, but they were probably from, I think the youngest one was probably a teenager, probably 16, 17 years old, and the oldest one was probably like 26, 27, somewhere around there. Um, but I called them the three sisters, and they were definitely black arts witch, and they would transform in the Walker ceremonies like it was nothing. So obviously, I assume that they had developed their skills of the ceremony as of the Native American ceremony that they could basically change whenever they wanted to. It didn't matter. Um, but at the same time, it was reported to me that things were happening in the Midwest area that I found out later that they were in, that there was deer that
Somebody wants to know what time tonight.
7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central is for the show tonight. And that's on the Bizarre and the Unknown. That's on Eric's channel, just so you know. Just putting it out there. But yeah, and I was told by somebody that I trust, he's a brother of mine on here, and every now and then I have him on the podcast. It's not Eric, but I was told at the time that they were finding, calves and stuff with their heads twisted off, or certain mutilation things happening to livestock, and even wildlife. And I kind of chalked it up. Well, it's probably the three sisters. That they have a hunting ground now out there. So it very well could be. Very well could be. So let me see here. Okay. North of Longmont, Colorado. Oh, okay. Yeah, Colorado's always been a state that's been having a lot of weird activity, that's for sure. Anyways, that Scooby Doo house that I call it was really a creepy part of my life. And it always seemed like I was the only child that got drugged there because my older sister never got drugged there with me. Um, and that was because my mother wanted me to become this dark mystic of my people. And I'm going to leave it at that. Anyways, it's been great. It's been almost 2 hours, and Eric had to leave. So I'm getting short winded. I want to thank everybody for being here. Eric, thank you. Corey, thank you for being here. Kyle, Roxanne, Ray, everybody, thank you very much. David and Melissa, thank you. I'm going to go through the whole list here. Poncho, thank you. Little Twisted, thank you. And send me that email, please. Let's see. Who else we got? We got Tracy, thank you for being here. My lovely wife. Candy, thank you for being here. Who else we got? We got Sins the Hobbit, thank you for being here. Jeff, thank you. Demara, thank you for being here. Let's see. Robin, thank you for being here. Who else we got? We've got, is that everybody? That can't be everybody. That's not everybody. Jeff, thank you. Juno, thank you. Okay. Ida, thank you for being here. Okay. I think that's everybody. If I missed somebody, I'm very, very sorry. It's been a long, long 24 hours for me. So, but thank you all very much. And look for that show tonight at 7 p.m. Central. 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central on the Bizarre and the Unknown. It's going to have Eric, myself, D.A. Roberts, Robbie Rip Rains, and Jessica Jones, the Cryptid Huntress. We're all going to be on a panel, and that's where you all can ask your questions. Okay. So I look forward to seeing everybody there. God bless everybody. I wish everybody nothing but happiness today and health. And we'll see you all tonight. Okay. And thank you again for being a part of our family. If you can, like, heart, and share this out with as many people as you can. Let's get the word out that we're trying to do something good. So, everybody, have a wonderful, wonderful day. Okay. Take care.